Hello, Podsmashers of the Internet, and welcome to another episode of Termite's Buzz, a weekly video game podcast following me, Termite, one of two hosts of Bit Podsmash, every single week, walking through what I'm playing and trophies I'm pursuing, some video game industry news, and some retro discussions. As a retro aficionado, I love retro video games. This week is the week of February 13th. Happy Valentine's Day to those of you who do anything for that. I hope you find your experiences with your loved ones, and however you want to celebrate that goes well. And as the show implies, Termite's Buzz, I used to be one of two hosts of 80-Bit Podsmash, and that would be where gaming goes to grab a beer. Well, Termite's Buzz is a little side show, as there is a hiatus happening with 80-Bit Podsmash, and so with that, I am drinking Six Bears and a Goat's Squeeze Play. It's a juicy IPA, and I actually got this over the holiday break, but it's like a blood orange IPA. Not really feeling that for the cold months. No, it's like 38 degrees outside. Juicy IPAs are really good for the summer, especially like cookouts, grilling out, etc. Oh, no. Why don't I like this? I liked it when I first tried it. Well, I'm going to drink it because I don't want to ever waste beer, but maybe I should just, I'm going to drink this. Anyway, what's going on this week? What trophies am I pursuing? Well, I guess before I should get into that, I should tell you where all of our podcast platforms are and where you can find me for your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, and ideas are on social media. And you can find links to all of our podcasting platforms, our audio sites, as well as our social media platforms over at 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our landing website with a link tree to all of our social media: Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, Discord, and TikTok, as well as our audio platforms: Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, etc. And our RSS feed link is there. You can throw it into any third-party app you'd like. Thank you for listening to the show and supporting us, and you can always change how the show is going, change the pacing, insert questions, and you can request to be a guest on the show, and maybe we can talk about something interesting that's going on. So that's how you can do that. Reach out to me through those social media outlets. And hi, Penguin, if you're listening to this show. We miss 80-Bit Podsmash. I know I do. So we have been discussing, strategizing what we're going to do for Season 2 of 80-Bit Podsmash coming later this year. But in lieu of that, I miss my talking with Penguin. I miss all of my banter that we used to have every week. So go say hi to Penguin, Dan Grathwall, on social media. So I am now playing 3 different games. Things have shifted. And I was playing Tactics Ogre and Persona 5 before. I didn't finish either of those. I never rolled the credits on anything, but some new stuff has come out to interrupt my flow. One was planned and one was not. So one that was not planned, and we'll get into in the news portion, is Metroid Prime Remastered. I'm playing that, but that's also going to cover the news and the retro talk. So I'm just going to say that here in this segment of the show, where I just talk about things that I'm playing, is that I'm playing Metroid Prime Remastered, and we'll get into details about that later. I kicked up Hogwarts Legacy, and wow. I will talk about the game, but first I will talk about the discourse around the game. The gaming internet has lost its mind. The gaming internet? Yes, the gaming industry has lost its mind. So starting with, J.K. Rowling is a horrible human being. She has absolutely toxic, terrible, disgusting, problematic views against people of the LGBTQ community, and I don't follow anything that she does. I don't care about her. I don't support her in any way, shape, or form. And I know there's a lot of bleed over with, like, well, you support Hogwarts Legacy, and she gets royalties for that, and you buy the game, you support the viewpoints. And it's just a big, giant gray area. So you can judge me for playing the game if you don't. I do not support J.K. Rowling at all, and I do support trans lives. Trans lives matter. Trans rights matter. Trans people are humans. Please be nice to each other on the internet. Be kind to one another. And if you do actually care about my moral, ethical decisions surrounding Hogwarts Legacy, I will challenge you to reach out to me on the social media outlets that I have gave you earlier in this show, and I would love to have a discussion about it, but I'm not going to get into a huge rant here on this show, because I do want to talk about Hogwarts Legacy, what kind of game it is, and how much fun I'm having with it. So a little bit of history of my Harry Potter fandom. I actually came to Harry Potter a little late in life after the books had come out. I was a few years behind. I think 3 had already come out by the time I started reading. I devoured those books. I was in high school at the time. I just destroyed, and I'm not a reader. I don't read books very often, especially fiction. And so Harry Potter 1, 2, and 3 came out, or were already out. I was catching up quickly. In preparation for Harry Potter 4, Goblet of Fire, and I remember getting that book for my birthday. My birthday is really close to Harry Potter's, actually. It's in July. And I remember getting the 4th book and just, that's still my favorite book of the series. And I devoured that book. I got a Game Boy Advance for my birthday that year. It was just a really, really good year. So love Harry Potter, of course, book 5, book 6. Book 6 was probably my new favorite when it had come out. And then I met my wife and we were dating around the time 7 had come out, and we both each got a copy of that book. And we were just talking about it. I mean, the discourse at work, shout out to Ryan, Java Fiend. He was a guest on an 80-Bit Podsmash before. The whole discourse at work. I worked at Starbucks, of course, coffee shop, and I remember there was like a whiteboard with theories and so much discussion about what Horcruxes are and what it's really going to mean leading up to the 7th book and what could possibly happen. Man, I remember like one of the biggest things in internet culture surrounding spoilers was when the 6th book had come out. Someone had picked up a copy of the book early, rushed to the back of the book and read crazy spoilers, and then drove past the people in line to pick up the 6th book and yelled spoilers from the car. And it was awful. And so we just now, like, that was at the cusp of things being mainstream available online. Anyway, I have a huge love for Harry Potter. The very first movie on DVD was the first purchase I made with real money from a job. And I worked at a Subway Sandwiches when I was 14 years old. My very first paycheck. I still remember to this day. I wanted to blow the whole thing. It was a $96 paycheck. And I was going to I went to Walmart and I bought the Harry Potter DVD, and I bought Quake 3 there was a bundle with Quake 3 and then Quake 3, there was the multiplayer. Well, it's all multiplayer, but there was like the expansion to Quake 3. And I think I bought something else too. But those are the two things I remember, and I blew the whole paycheck in one purchase. And I was like, yeah, this is totally worth it. It was awesome. So I love the movies, of course, when they come out, and the newer ones all the way up through 7 being 2 parts. I saw them all in theaters, and I just grew up with, like, it was such a big mainstream segment of my life. Maybe I should be talking about this in my retro section. So anyway, all of that going into the announcement of PlayStation 5 in 2018, maybe it was the summer of 2019. There was the big announcement, here's the new console, and they ran through a bunch of games, and Hogwarts Legacy was announced alongside of like Final Fantasy 16 and some other stuff that has now come out. And I just remember losing my mind. Like, a big budget AAA Harry Potter game, it's never been done before. We've had a lot of spin-off titles, and some good, some bad. I remember playing some like RPGs on Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, but never really was there ever a video game that I was excited about in the Harry Potter world. Speaking of Harry Potter world, I've gone to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Universal Studios in Florida. In fact, the week after it had opened, I was there. So I've tried Butterbeer, I did the Hogsmeade thing, Ollivanders, I did the ride. It was awesome, and it's just so good. I loved Harry Potter. Hogwarts Legacy, of course, came out, and I was like, I gotta play this game. Soured completely by the black cloud shadow of J.K. Rowling and how awful of a human being she is. Now going into it, it's just like, and the discourse on the internet, is all just annoying. So I bought the game, I'm playing it, I'm enjoying it, I'm trying to put all of that negativity aside, and I'm just going to enjoy this art, this world. Hundreds of developers over at Portkey Games, published by WB, and they've put all kinds of love and care and attention to detail in this world. Walking, like, the opening scenes, the opening sequences, the storytelling has all of that mystery and all that intrigue that the books had, where, you know, Harry Potter is a human being, a muggle, a non-magic person, and suddenly he like finds himself accepted into Hogwarts, and he finds out he's a wizard. You're a wizard, Harry, famously in the movie. And what he learns as he is just dropped into the wizarding world is kind of by experience, and the way the book is written and how Harry learns things. There's some things that are told to him that are relevant that he needs to know to kind of get through, but most of what he learns about the wizarding world at large is through just experience. Like he just walks into the Great Hall and there's candles floating, or like the stairwells change and you're like, this is crazy. And like pictures move and talk to you, and that's wild. There's ghosts around. Like, what is happening, right? So those are all just things that happen. In the game, Hogwarts Legacy, the reason why I even bring that up is because it kind of does the same thing. As a player, you're just dropped into this big experience as the plot is unfolding right at the beginning. You're an older kid, a fifth year, I guess that makes you 16 years old. And you're starting your magic education way later than a normal kid would, which should be like around the age of 10, if I recall correctly. And so yeah, you go through the opening sequences, lots of action, mystery, intrigue, all this. They drop just a little bit of tidbits that you need to kind of get through what you're seeing and what you're experiencing, but doesn't really explain the greater things. You should probably have some Harry Potter experience before playing this game, because there's a lot of stuff that's not explained at all. Like you show up at Gringotts Bank and you don't know what that is, but it's the Wizarding Bank, and so there's a whole bunch of like Harry Potter was there famously, and there's vaults and they're controlled, extremely high security, magic's restricted, and all these implications that are there that aren't really talked about. The game does a good job of walking people through that, but if you don't have any Harry Potter experience, you might be underwater, like wondering what the crap's going on, what is all this stuff. And so all the opening sequences happen. You pick your house. The sorting hat will sort you, but you can choose whatever house you'd like. Whatever house you identify as, you can choose. And so I picked Hufflepuff, because that's me. I identify as a Hufflepuff. And loving Hogwarts Castle. I'm still at the very beginning, early hours of the game. Just stepped outside of Hogwarts, but in the castle, just walking around, running around, the surround sound design, sound engineering is phenomenal. And I remember hearing some music, and I was like, oh, what's that? And I like moved the camera around, and the music was clearly spatial. You could, like spatial audio, you could go walk in the direction of where the music was coming from. And there was like a string quartet playing by itself, an enchanted cello with 4 violins. And they were playing music, and I was like, this is really cool. I don't know what it was about that specific thing, but like the portraits will call out to you as you walk by. They'll say things. There's conversations happening with other students around. It's just really in depth and really alive, fleshed out world of the castle is far from dead. You like walk up to the astronomy tower, and there's all these effects that like obviously indicate they're watching the cosmos. And then you go to the herbology section, and there's all these plants and planters and all the different types of things going on. And there's like enchanted watering cans, watering plants, and there's students about. And the voice acting is really well done. The graphics, of course, it's Unreal Engine 4, so it's absolutely gorgeous. I have a 4K TV with HDR, and so the lighting is pops, and like the I'm playing on performance mode on PS5, so 60 frames per second. There's some odd like pop in and clipping and some weird minor technical things that don't really detract me from anything. I do think that the hand-holding is a little hard at the beginning. It takes a long time to finally get like, okay, I got it. I'm doing this thing. I feel like its pacing is a little off. It starts off strong, and then it kind of like, okay, there's a lot of dialogue. And most of it is kind of relevant, but I found myself like checking my phone or like getting a little distracted. It wasn't awful, but something worth noting. It took 3-ish hours for me to really start getting excited to play it. Combat, I'm playing on easy. I don't care. I don't look for in-depth combat systems, but there's blocking and parrying, and there's different types of spells you have to use to mitigate enemy defenses. So like in the duel, you use a lot of dueling to learn the combat, which I think is kind of fun because you're doing defense against dark arts dueling, and there's also like this secret fight club that's not named Fight Club, but like the students have kicked off this like secret dueling club that you're a member of, and so you get involved and roped into that. And it teaches you how to fight in the game. So like there's a red shield, you should use Incendio on it. There's a purple shield, you use Accio on it. There's a yellow shield, you use Leviosa on them. And you can combine those things. So you like Leviosa, levitate them in the air, and then you can bring them close to you with Accio, and you can burn them with Incendio. I don't even know if I'm saying the spells right, but you get the idea. So you can like lift them, bring them to you, smack them with regular attacks between each thing, and then the Incendio is really powerful, so you bring them close to you, but it's close range, so there's the risk, right? It's like they can hit you. So really cool. You go to Hogsmeade, you're exploring, you're doing some stuff, some story events unfold, and it continues to down the road of like the plot moving forward and learning the things. And the kid, the main character, you, the player, are learning your place at Hogwarts, and you're making new friends and like establishing relationships and learning NPC characters, and all that stuff is really, really well done. So far, I'm absolutely loving it, and I can't wait to play more of it. Good stuff. It plays well. So I'm also, this is, the day I'm recording this is the last day of it, but Splatoon 3 is having a Splatfest over different types of chocolate being the theme. So there's dark chocolate, milk chocolate, and white chocolate. I'm on team dark chocolate, and I didn't choose that, but that's what I would have picked if it was given up, if the choice was mine. So I lucked out. But I'm playing with some neighbors, and so someone else had picked the team first, and I want to play on the same team as them. So we played both Friday and Saturday night. It was a lot of fun. I love Splatfest. I love the world when it turns into a big concert and there's fireworks and music and everything changes. It's nighttime and you have the whole teams, the entire player base, because the game's online all the time, is divided into 3 teams. And so you're contributing, like as I was playing, I'm paired up with my neighbors and one other stranger, that's a round of like 4 versus 4, but I'm contributing to the big team dark chocolate. Every win, every bit of points we earn goes towards that, and so it's really cool to see like a big giant internet event unfold. So that's what I'm playing. That's I did take like a quick stint back into Gran Turismo 7, hot off the heels of all the Forza stuff I was doing. I wanted to play Gran Turismo, my true pride, love, what I always fall back on. I only like Forza because I like Gran Turismo first. So going back to Gran Turismo 7 was amazing, and it kind of got its hooks in me, so I did a little bit more. I unlocked a couple of trophies. I am nowhere near the platinum in that game. The amount of grinding required to get the money you need to buy the legendary cars is insane, and I haven't done that, probably. And the difficulty of getting gold on all of the licenses is absolutely insane, so I probably will not do that for the sake of keeping my controllers intact, and my TV intact, and my gaming sanity intact. So the most exciting thing happened this week in a long time, or at least this year so far, and arguably the most exciting week in gaming this year, which it's in February of 2023, so it's still a new year, is a Nintendo Direct happened. And oh boy, did that happen. Nintendo is on fire. They came out all missiles firing, whatever you want to call that, like every launcher launched, just crazy. We all knew that Legend of Zelda, of course, was going to be shown off, Tears of the Kingdom. And it was. And there was an amiibo announced, and there was a collector's edition announced, and so a new trailer was dropped. I'll get there. I'm going to follow the order of this article from Polygon, all the biggest announcements from this week's Nintendo Direct, written by Nicole Carpenter. So, overall, I would rate this as like a solid A. Not an A+, not a double A, whatever, like an A. This Direct, for what it had, the bevy of content that would cater to each type of gamer, all focused on the Nintendo Switch. And the Nintendo Switch, everyone's talking about how it's at the end of its life cycle, there's not a lot of content left, and Tears of the Kingdom is going to be the last big game, that's going to be the swan song, and we're looking for new hardware. Nintendo proved everybody wrong. They're like, nope, here's all this stuff coming out, and lots to be excited about. So the order of I'm not going in the order of the announcements in the Direct itself. I'm following this article from Polygon to keep me on track. So we've talked about Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. It was another look. And of course, the release date was confirmed as, again, May 12th. And the price tag was $69.99, which was the big surprise, $10 more. A lot of people on the internet, the discourse, making a big kerfluffle, big thing about the extra $10. Gaming's cheaper than it's ever been. Okay, y'all, like N64 games in the 90s were $75 to $80. Everyone chill. It's totally worth it. But Nintendo is obviously cashing in, throwing out their big energy on Zelda. They're cashing in on a big IP. They know Breath of the Wild is one of the biggest games, best games of all time, and highly rated. It won Game of the Year. So the sequel to it, of course, they're just going to up the price by $10. There's 155 million Switches out there in the wild. There's an attach rate. You do the math. You add $10 to every sale. You print money. That's pretty much what Nintendo's doing here. They're printing money. They're just like, we're doing this. And as a consumer, I'm just like, okay, shut up and take my money, Nintendo. It's worth it. It's $70 is the new norm. It's what PS5 and Microsoft is doing. But I understand the argument against it. It's a cheap cash in. There's no reason for it to be $10 more. When Breath of the Wild was $59.99. Well, we live in a different world. Inflation's going crazy, and prices in video games have not really increased much in the last 15, 20 years. It's been $50 for a long time, and then it at one point went up to $60 for another super long time, and now they're all kind of ubiquitously being $70. So everyone just calm down. You can always buy it secondhand. You can trade in stuff to discount it. You can wait for sales. You can do all kinds of things to mitigate a price increase as best as you can. It's video games. It's entertainment. It'll be okay. So Advance Wars was a game that was put on the shelf. It was going to come out right when Russia decided to invade Ukraine. Nintendo didn't think it was going to be very tactful to release the game and just put it off. Like, it had clearly gone gold. It was ready to be released, and they just put it away. And they said, nope, it's not a good time to release the game, and they never really announced when until now. After an 11-month delay, Advance Wars 1+2 reboot, who can read? Advance Wars 1 and 2 reboot Camp will be released. April 21st is the release date. It's coming out in the spring. I know I'm excited about it. I missed Advance Wars on the Game Boy Advance. And I guess there was a GameCube entry as well. I think it was Battalion Wars or something like that. And I've always heard good things about it. I love Final Fantasy Tactics and Fire Emblem, and this game is right up in that world, the tactical RPG with the grid-based combat. So I'm excited to try it out when it comes out this April. I'm hoping to have some of my spring games done going into the spring. I hope that I'll be cleared for that. And another super hype moment during the Nintendo Direct was finally the announcement of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games are coming to Nintendo Switch Online. They're bringing a slate of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games to Nintendo Switch. The Game Boy titles are available with the Nintendo Switch Online membership. Game Boy Advance games are available with the membership in the expansion pass. The lineup of games is awesome. Tetris, Metroid 2, Wario Land 3. For Game Boy Advance, we're getting Mario Kart Super Circuit, which is near and dear to my heart. And Legend of Zelda Minish Cap, which is ridiculously good and highly underrated. And I'm glad that it's on mass audiences now. Minish Cap is an absolute... everyone's sleeping on Minish Cap. Minish Cap is absolutely incredible. Someone who loves Link's Awakening. Link's Awakening is probably my second favorite Zelda of all of them. I love the remake for the Switch. Minish Cap is the next best 2D top-down Zelda. Like, it's awesome. Maybe Link to the Past on Super Nintendo is the only one that rivals it. It's so good. So good. And I might actually revisit it again in the downtime I have over the summer. That'd be a great, take my Switch to the poolside and play Minish Cap. And the big surprise there was released today, during the announcement. So Nintendo Switch showcased all the Direct, showcased all these games, boom, announced, coming out today. And that was kind of a big theme for the Nintendo Direct. Of course, Metroid Prime was finally showed off. Much leaked, big rumored. Of course, everyone knew Retro Studios was doing this. There's developers that had leaked things. It leaked like a sieve. Everyone knew Nintendo was working on Metroid Prime Remastered. Maybe the trilogy was going to be ported over or not was a big question mark. But this is just Metroid Prime 1. It's called Metroid Prime Remastered. There was a trailer for it. Dual stick controls. Coming to the eShop today, another crazy announcement. So as you're watching this Direct, you're like, okay, I'm getting Game Boy games, Game Boy Advance games today, and I'm getting a Metroid Prime remake today. And the physical version will be coming out February 22nd. Oh my gosh, I lost my mind. This is why I'm rating this Direct an A. I am fed. Come on. And of course, an update to Zelda. Advance Wars finally gets a release date. Game Boy and Game Boy Advance come to Switch today. Metroid Prime Remake, which is my favorite GameCube game, remade today. Yes! Oh my gosh. And I've been playing it, as I said at the beginning of the show, and it is amazing. And I'll get into that in the Retro Talk. So there was, I think the Pikmin 4 announcement happened, at least a release date. We knew Pikmin 4 was happening, so I can't say announcement, but it was an update to a new trailer. That's what the Direct opened with. It's coming July 21st, so now we have a date for Pikmin 4. I will definitely pick this up. I've played through all three of the first ones. Pikmin is probably my least favorite Nintendo IP. I find the games frustratingly difficult, but I'm a collector, and I have 1, 2, and 3, so I have to have 4, and I will play it. and I hope that it's good. Pikmin 3 was good on the Wii U. I enjoyed the touchpad interface, but it's so difficult, and it's so like I feel like the control schemes got in the way of the games, and Pikmin 1 and 2 were ported to the Wii. I have the GameCube and the Wii versions, and I played them on the Wii with the motion controls, and that was way easier. But trying to navigate and coordinate all the different types of Pikmin and keep them all alive, there's like a Lemmings style. They just go, and you have to protect them, and you can guide them around. But it's very difficult when you're just playing a captain and you're kind of using a whistle to navigate the Pikmin, and then you throw the different types of Pikmin at different obstacles, and there's a puzzle, but there's a time limit to each day, and so you have to get all the Pikmin back to your ship by the end of the day, and so you can only explore so far, and you try to uncover something that you can get back to the next day. You uncover shortcuts so you can kind of inch your way out farther. It's a lot of fun if you haven't played Pikmin. So Pikmin 4, it's coming in July. It'll be a late summer jaunt. There's other things coming out. So around, especially in July, I'll be playing Final Fantasy 16, and I'll be playing maybe Diablo 4 and other games. So I hope I have time for it. I'm probably just going to get it just to have it. Nintendo's prices don't ever drop. I can trade some stuff in, which I'll never do. I'm the collector. I don't trade stuff in, but y'all can use coupons, etc. Try and find discounts. But Pikmin 4, I'll probably just pick it up. Samba de Amigo, Party Central. I don't remember. I guess this was... Okay, it's been decades since developer Sonic Team and publisher Sega released Samba de Amigo, an arcade rhythm game that later came to Dreamcast in the year 2000 and Nintendo's Wii 2008. The premise is simple: move maracas and your body to the beat. So Samba de Amigo Party Central will be released on June 30th for Nintendo Switch with 40 songs across genres. Never played Samba de Amigo, but I absolutely love rhythm games, which I'll talk about in my retro section because I've dabbled into some retro games, and I'm extremely excited for Theater Rhythm Final Bar coming out on the 16th, which is this week. I can't wait! Baten Kaitos Remaster was announced. That is Baten Kaitos Eternal Wings and The Lost Ocean get an HD version for Nintendo Switch alongside a remaster of the 2003 GameCube's prequel, Baten Kaitos Origins. Baten Kaitos was originally published by Namco. The game came out first in Japan before a launch in North America in 2004. The JRPG franchise was abandoned after Origins, while developer Monolith Soft worked on other projects like the Xenoblade Chronicles games. Always heard good things about these. In the GameCube collector space, these titles go for tons of money. I don't have them physically. I've always wanted to play them. I knew of their existence, so the fact that they're coming to a modern platform, that I'll be able to get it relatively easily, and with a remaster, hopefully some quality of life improvements. I'm excited about this. So again, like this Nintendo Direct's just boom, 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 like hit after hit after hit of great stuff. There was a random game called Fashion Dreamer that is developed by Xseed. I don't really know. It's a fashion influencer simulator. So if you're into that, I expect the Flock to do a live stream calling them out now, and I'll watch it. I will watch that. Yep. Dead Cells Return to Castlevania was showcased again. We saw that before in a prior video at the Game Awards. We saw it at the Game Awards last year. That's coming out March 6th. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective by Capcom is a re-release of a 2010 adventure game. It's expected to come out in 2023 on all the major platforms, but no release date. Don't know much about that. We Love Katamari Reroll and Royal Reverie are coming to the Switch. So if you played the Katamari Damacy games, which I have not, that's there for you. Announcement for Splatoon 3 is an expansion pass, 2 waves of DLC. Wave 1 bringing the Inkopolis Plaza from Splatoon 1 into Splatoon 3, and then a second wave called Side Order with new single-player campaign was announced, available today, which I thought was nuts. But, big, huge caveat here. The DLC expansion pass, the ability to buy it was today, not any of the actual content. To my chagrin, because I bought it immediately, super excited to run around Inkopolis, to find out that Inkopolis doesn't come out until spring. So what you get if you buy it now is just some in-game currency, which was great. Some drink tickets and gold coins, which I'm for, because I need those things. I'm playing Splatoon 3 regularly, so I was excited about that, but I really wanted Inkopolis. It's the whole reason I bought it. And I know the single-player content will come, like, who knows whenever, maybe later this year, maybe next year. Don't know. If you like Cuphead, Disney Illusion Island was announced. It looks to be a stylized Disney platformer, brings Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, and Donald Duck into a new mysterious world, and it's got multiplayer for up to 4 players. It's coming to Nintendo Switch on July 28th. Like, a lot more platforming and side-scrolling action-type game. It looks pretty cool if you're into, like, Cuphead or some old classic side-scrolling cooperative, very much reminiscent of like New Super Mario Bros. From the Wii and then its sequels, Wii U and 3DS, etc. A game called Harmony: The Fall of Reverie is the future of humanity is at stake in Don't Nod's Harmony: Fall of Reverie. The dramatic game is coming to Nintendo Switch in June. Don't Nod is known for Life is Strange, so they have a new game that actually showcased really well, and it's very intriguing to me. The art style was cool, very cyberpunky, decision trees. It's kind of neat. With dialogue and get on different story paths, and kind of like a David Cage style game from Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls, and most notably Detroit Become Human. Those kind. It looks like those, but it's Don't Nod's version. It's Don't Nod Studios from Life is Strange, which I've never played and always wanted to. There's not enough time in the world to play all this stuff. Professor Layton in the new world of Steam. Surprise, a new Professor Layton game is coming, and Nintendo has kept things very mysterious, showing just the title and nothing else. It's called Professor Layton and the New World of Steam. The last mainline Professor Layton game was released in 2014, so here's a new entry in that. I've heard great things, never played it. Nintendo fans are fed. I'm telling you, this is a great direct. I know lots of Professor Layton fans went nuts over this announcement, so good for y'all. Fantasy Life 1, The Girl Who Steals Time, or Fantasy Life I should say. Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time is an Animal Crossing-like where you can rebuild an island by collecting resources to bring everything back to life. It looks really similar to Animal Crossing from the aesthetics to decorations and harvesting, but adds some new mechanics like in-depth cooking. The first game, Fantasy Life, was released originally on the 3DS. This new one is expected out this year. And then another extremely exciting moment, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Course, the Booster Course Pass, whatever. They're showcasing a brand new Mario Kart course for Yoshi's Island. And I caught it that it was Yoshi's Island because of the music. The music got me first. And this is Yoshi's Island, the sequel to Super Mario World, where you play as Yoshi with baby Mario on your back. They've made an entire Mario Kart course off of that. And it looks absolutely incredible. I love Mario Kart 8. So it's part of the booster course passes. They're doing the waves. And so this new course will be added to the next wave. And with it is a new character, new to Mario Kart, Birdo. You can finally play as Birdo now. So I'm actually really looking forward to that. So that's the end of the, at least Polygon's recap of the Nintendo Direct. They came out swinging. Nintendo surely did mean everything in the first half of this year, and that is a ton of content. So much stuff that's happening. Both the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance games are going to be expanded with even more. They're bringing Oracle of Ages and Seasons forward. And then for Game Boy Advance, games like Golden Sun are coming. So lots to look forward to for the rest of the year. In those regards, the emulator for the Game Boy has like all the different types of frames, so you can play the Game Boy Pocket, and the Game Boy Color versions with the different types of palettes there, which I thought was kind of neat. When I remember there being a thing way back about the Virtual Console and how obtuse it was, and we had to rebuy all the copies of games to play on different platforms, and how ridiculous. I remember Nintendo coming out and saying a response or something about like, what we're going to do with the Switch in our retro lineup is unique, and we think it'll provide a lot of offerings for people and satisfy those folks who are interested in Virtual Console. No one knew the Nintendo Switch Online service was going to be a thing. No one knew it was going to be like a Netflix style. But wow, if you just look at like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Game Boy, and Game Boy Advance, this is amazing. Absolutely incredible, the amount of content we're getting here for just that cheap $50 a year if you have the expansion pass. I remember we did an episode with Penguin over the pricing. We tried to investigate if Sony really was more expensive than Microsoft or Nintendo when it comes to what you get for the money. And I remember Nintendo just coming in hot with the biggest bang for your buck in terms of games per dollar ratio when it comes to the subscription services, because these titles are awesome, like legendary retro Nintendo titles that we grew up with. It almost makes the physical collection I have like obsolete because these things are so easy. You can play them on your Switch, and you can dock your Switch to your TV and play it on your modern 4K TV without the need for any upscalers or any extra equipment or adapters. You don't have to modify the circuit boards. There are places for doing those things. There's a reason why people do that, and there's a market for it, for soldering an RGB adapter onto your motherboard of a Super Nintendo and plugging it into your 4K, because you're going to get something that looks amazing, way better than the Switch emulators can do. But the amount of money, time, and experience required to do that is like a barrier of entry. So having them just so convenient on the Switch, ready to go, is so awesome, and it can't be overstated enough how great the Nintendo Switch Online and Expansion Pass have become. And it's just getting even better. And all these things were released today. Lots of demos, like Sea of Stars, I believe, had a demo released in the Direct. So if you're into demos, I think there was a Octopath Traveler 2 demo also. All of that stuff was available today. So Nintendo just like upgraded for the year, shown off everything they have. Excuse me. I cannot wait to see what they have for the second half of 2023. And with Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, big trailer. The highlights of that trailer were seemingly customizable vehicles. It looked like something out of Banjo-Kazooie, Nuts and Bolts. It was like this big car with a flat surface and some wheels and traversing the land on something other than a horse, but also showed Link traveling on a horse. So, I don't know. We'll find out. Lots of new mechanics with the arm being showcased, and some story elements that were being hinted at, like the world is broken apart and someone lent Link their strength, and his arm, is it off? Has it been removed? And someone lent him a new arm. Ganon's voice acting is there. The world of Hyrule looks darker than it's ever been. So there's rumors about like Ganon being more powerful than he's ever been. And so Hyrule is reflecting that. And then we have the whole sky worlds and islands looking. It looks awesome. I can't wait. The collector's edition pre-orders went live that night for Best Buy, and then like the next day for the other retailers. I scored one, so I got a legendary edition, or the collector's edition, which has like a steelbook and stuff. And then I have the amiibo. I got that pre-ordered, so I can continue my 100% collection of Zelda amiibo. I have all of them, and so I have to keep that. Every time a new Zelda amiibo gets announced, I need to have it, so I can keep my collection complete. You know what I mean? Got to keep my collection complete. So that was the news. Nintendo's hot. Nintendo is strong. They are making tons of money. There's also news about Nintendo Switch sales. In fact, I'm going to grab... I wasn't prepared with that, but I just thought about it, and I thought it would be cool to talk about. Nintendo Switch sales. Let me grab a news article here. Let's see. There was... from The Verge. The Nintendo Switch is now the third best-selling console of all time. This was published on February 7th by Jess Weatherbed over at TheVerge.com. The Nintendo Switch is now the third best-selling console of all time, surpassing both the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Game Boy in total lifetime units sold. Nintendo's third quarter earnings report shows that the Switch OLED, and the Switch Lite archived 8.2 million combined unit sales between October 1st and December 31st, bringing in the total lifetime unit sales for the console to 122.55 million since it was released in 2017. So I revised my initial statement at the beginning of this episode where I said 155 million. That is incorrect. There are 122 million Nintendo Switches in the wild. That pushes the Nintendo Switch past the 118 million combined units achieved by the Game Boy and Game Boy Color, and the final 117 million units reported by Sony for the PlayStation 4. Despite this milestone, Switch sales were off 23% compared to the 10.6 million units sold in the same quarter last year. Switch game sales also decreased by 4% year over year, despite the popularity of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which broke records to become the fastest-selling games in Nintendo's history. Nintendo has subsequently lowered its end-of-year forecast for both hardware and software sales in the face of these declines, but has also announced plans to increase salaries by 10% for current and future employees based in Japan. Nintendo President Shintaro Furukawa said that increasing wages will help strengthen the company's hiring power, following similar moves from other large Japanese corporations amid an increasingly tight labor market. So, yeah, Nintendo is healthy. Nintendo is strong. The Switch is strong and healthy. It's still going. We've already had it confirmed. We're not getting a mid-generation hardware update to the Switch, so we just have to look forward to the Switch 2 whenever that is announced, which I suspect will be announced. Well, I thought it was going to be announced this year to come out in like 2025 or something, but I don't know. I'm skeptical now with the strength of the numbers here, of how strong the Switch still is going, rising the charts. It has to dethrone the Nintendo DS and best-selling consoles of all time. I believe it is the PlayStation 2 at 155 million and the Nintendo DS at 154 million. So the Switch has to sell 32 million more units to surpass the DS, and it has to sell 33 more million to get past the PlayStation 2. That's crazy, considering in the holiday season it only sold 9 million. So it has to get 32 more million. That's not how you say that correctly, but that's what I said. 32 million more. That's what I meant to say. So there you have it. Nintendo kicking butt. I love Nintendo. They don't get enough credit for what they do. But the Nintendo Switch is an underpowered, like, we have these amazing 4K machines with solid state drives that load things instantly, with solid online base that has like Discord integration and wireless headsets, and you don't have to use a phone to talk to friends and make parties. Come on, Nintendo. You are awesome, but you got to step up. I hope the Switch 2, we always say this, every single new console that comes out with Nintendo, we're like, they're going to do it this time. They're going to get the online thing straight, and they're going to have like a modern, more powerful console. No, it hasn't happened since the GameCube. The GameCube was the last time they had a console that was ridiculously as powerful as PS2 and Xbox as far as parity. Back in 2001, they were different. The three consoles were different, and the Xbox was the most powerful of the three, but they weren't different enough between each other to like, you could port a game to all three of them, and they all required a lot of work. They were not the same architecture, but it didn't look drastically as different as a Nintendo Switch port of Hogwarts Legacy does versus PS5 and Series XS. So, come on, Nintendo. We don't need to use the Resident Evil 8 uses a cloud streaming to play it, because Resident Evil 8 is by far out of the reach of the performance of the Switch. So, I guess the best we're going to get is like The Witcher 3. And it's just, we need an upgrade. We need some new hardware. It's been a while. 2017, the entirety of 80-Bit Podsmash in this podcast, over 6 years almost, has existed solely in the Nintendo Switch lifecycle. There's not been a new Nintendo console that I have gotten to be hype and talk about on the podcast ever. We lived through the PS5 and the Series X launches. The hype, all of the things leading up to it, all of the previews, the excitement, the unboxes. We did that. We stood in line. We did the pre-orders. We got the things. But no Nintendo console. No new Nintendo console. I was hoping to see that Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Edition Switch OLED model that was leaked on Reset Era that has like these awesome Joy-Cons that have like gold coloring with green, very Twilight Princess-y runes all up on the Joy-Cons. It looks awesome. You should go look that up if you want to see it, because this is an audio podcast and I can't push video to you yet. Retro talk. What have I been doing in the retro world of gaming? I had a brief stint into Guitar Hero. I'm dying for a rhythm game. So much after the demo of Theater Rhythm Final Bar that I was like, I'm going to play some Guitar Hero. It's been a hot minute. It's been a very long time since I played Guitar Hero. And I've also been really, really dying to play Rock Band again. And I only like the drums for Rock Band and the later Guitar Heroes that incorporated its drum set. Like, that's what I really enjoy the most from all of the rhythm stuff. So I really, really wanted that. Did a whole bunch of research online about where to get them, like eBay and other various retailers, and they're astronomically expensive. And I guess it makes sense because they made a ton of these instruments. And I remember there was a time where like stores couldn't give these instruments away, and they took up so much space in the store shelves. The boxes were huge. Even at home, like yard sales, and you scout like Craigslist, people were just giving this stuff out. Like, it was old and no one was using it anymore. All the games were done. And now it has become a retro relic, and it's frustrating as crap because I'm dying to play them, and it's like $200 to $1,000 depending on the set, the condition, the completeness, what comes with, etc. It's insane, and all I want to do is drum again. So anyone in this audience has a Rock Band drum set, preferably for PlayStation 3, it would be absolutely incredible if you could ship that to me. I will pay for all of the shipping, and I'll kick in some extra profits for you. But I'm not going to spend $200 to $1,000 on a drum set. Like, it's not worth that much money. If you have one, let me know. Reach out to me on those social media outlets. I would love to get one. And I've never played any of the Rock Band games on PlayStation, so they are ripe for the harvest of trophies. I've only ever played it on Xbox, so I have a ton of Xbox achievements. But anyway, in this excitement about retro gaming and rhythm games specifically, my history with rhythm games in general started with Dance Dance Revolution back in high school. I adored that game. The anime Japanese bops were awesome. It hit, and I just got into it, and I played it so much at the arcades. I had the home ones on PlayStation, PlayStation 2. I've got a bunch of them still. I have a dance pad, courtesy of a friend of the show, Zach. Thank you. I still use it. It still works. I love Dance Dance Revolution, and I do continue to play it regularly whenever I get jonesing for it. But this round of rhythm game addiction, or whatever you want to call, like diving back into the world of rhythm games, because it's been a while, I really wanted to play Guitar Hero. So I did. I fired up Guitar Hero 3 on the Wii, which was the platform that I had it on, which is by far not the best platform, but it worked. It served a bill. And I also have some other Guitar Heroes on Xbox 360, so I fired those up and messed around with that and had a good time playing the guitar in Guitar Hero. I used to be really pretty good. I played on Expert and finally got some things down, and I felt myself extremely rusty and kind of frustrated that I couldn't do the things I used to. And then I was like, well, I just got to relearn again. So I started playing. I did 3 days in a row and I progressed greatly from the rust that I had over 3 days, but still not anywhere near what I used to be able to do. But it was fun. I had a blast. I enjoy the music, and I enjoy the rhythm aspect of it all. So I cannot wait for Theater Rhythm this week. Yes, I have it pre-ordered. I pre-ordered it digitally, and I'll have it the second it goes live, and I cannot wait for Theater Rhythm Final Bar. Of course, the biggest retro jaunt that I've done is Metroid Prime. I finally get to relive my favorite GameCube game again in 2023 exactly the way that I remember it. And that's hilarious, because if you go back to an old game and you have fond memories of it, sometimes those games don't age well, and they don't look, play, or feel anywhere as good as you remember them to be, because you've played so many newer games, and game design, mechanics, and direction have all improved drastically since the 90s and the early 2000s. And so GameCube aside, because GameCube ages like a fine wine, there's GameCube titles are awesome. You go back to a GameCube game, Luigi's Mansion, Rogue Leader, Rogue Squadron 2, and you go back to Metroid Prime, Resident Evil 0, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. They might not look as graphically enhanced as modern 4K games do, but they play amazingly well. 60 frames per second, super responsive. The controls are awesome, including Metroid Prime, which was revolutionary when it first dropped on the GameCube. An infamous direction change, just like Wind Waker with Zelda, was like, Metroid's a first-person shooter? What's going on? This is insane. It turned out to be absolutely incredible, and Metroid Prime 2 only made it, iterated on it. I don't find Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, as good as the first one. I never actually finished Metroid Prime 2 or 3. 1 I definitely finished. It was amazing. The feelings the game evokes, the loneliness, the kind of sadness, but also intrigue of this planet, Talon 4, and exploring the different biomes. There's the Phendrana Drifts, then the magma area underground that I can't remember, the Talon overworld, the Chozo ruins, and learning Samus's origin story and her with the Chozo, and how she got her armor and her powers, and where all that stuff comes from, and the rival with the space pirates and Ridley. Oh, it's just chef's kiss. Metroid Prime is just amazing. I absolutely adore it and love it. And the fact that it's out on the Switch, I'm playing through it again, and it's just awesome. And the graphics are all enhanced. So now we have modern textures, modern models, and shading effects and such are all great. And it's still 60 frames per second. Now it's at 900p, full widescreen, because that was the thing. The GameCube wasn't widescreen. So if you haven't played or messed around with Metroid Prime and you're slightly interested, look up some YouTube videos of it. It's just so good. And it actually made me want to go back and play the GameCube one again. So, of course, I fired it up to see the differences. And I was just so impressed by how the GameCube holds up, even to this day. Like 22 years later, after it had come out, it's still so good. It looks sharp. It looks and feels, plays wonderfully. You go back to some of those old Nintendo 64 games or PlayStation 1 games, it's just woof. These things are archaic, and they feel clunky, and there's a lot of clipping and funky controls. I mean, looking at you, GoldenEye, with the port of GoldenEye to the Switch and what you have to do to make it feel right. You have to go into the system settings and switch things around, look that up to make it feel right. And then there's still it's not exactly a good direct port. The sounds have missing tones in them. And so it's just, you got to go back and play the original, but the original is clunky and it runs at 10 FPS. And you throw a mine onto a thing and explode a barrel, and the frame rate tanks to 2 because Nintendo 64. That's why. But Metroid Prime, the GameCube, the new Switch version, amazing. And if they bring Metroid Prime 2 and 3 to the Switch, I will be ecstatic. I mean, I already am ecstatic. This Metroid Prime surprise announced Shadow Drop completely injected itself into my plan for gaming. I was going to try to get the Persona 5 Platinum, continue to beat Tactics Ogre, at least mainline the story. And now I have Hogwarts Legacy and then Metroid. So I just completely switch gears and say bye to those other games I was playing. There's going to be dusty backlog for a while. Playing the new hotness, and Metroid Prime is just one of those games I'm playing that now. So much so that I bought the digital version right away, and I pre-ordered a physical copy because I want the physical copy on my shelf for the collection, but I needed to play it now. I couldn't wait, the 10 days, so I bought 2. The caveat is that my son might be interested in this, and he has his own Switch, so having a physical copy allows him to play and me to play. So that's kind of why I did it. It wasn't just for me. There was another side, ulterior motive there. But yeah, I love Metroid Prime. I love the GameCube. I love that era of gaming in general. I adore it, and I've been in GameCube world for a while before I took that sidestep into Xbox 360 world with Left 4 Dead. So thanks for hanging out with me in my retro discussion. Now we're back to GameCube again for Metroid Prime. Who knows what next week will be? I know I'll be playing Theatrhythm. I'll finally actually be able to talk about what the game is like, more than just the demo. So with that, I'm going to leave you till next week. You can always find me at 80bitpodsmash.com. Links to all those socials are there. Please reach out and give all of your questions, comments, concerns, thoughts and ideas, questions, and I will hopefully answer all of them and have a back and forth. Our Discord server is also bumping with a bunch of fun things that we're all up to, so jump in on that. And without further ado, I don't know why I say that. I'll see you next week.